Hi, welcome to this episode of the Nurse Coach Duo. We talk a lot in these episodes about perimenopause and the symptoms that come with it, but hormones are rarely the whole story. And in this conversation with Dr. Alison DiBarto Goggin, we explore what else may be driving symptoms like bloating, joint pain, weight gain, and why systems like the gut and the adrenal glands and the liver are part of this perimenopause support. Dr. Allison is a functional medicine practitioner and founder of Little Black Bag Medicine. Her telehealth practice is focused on root cause approaches to chronic illnesses and autoimmunity. She's the author of 4 books, including her upcoming Goddess Medicine, and she brings a personalized whole body perspective to women's health. In this conversation, we wanted to zoom out and ask a bigger question. What if some of what women are experiencing in midlife isn't only perimenopause? And Dr. Allison does a fantastic job explaining what else might be going on. Be sure not to miss her foundational protocol about halfway through the interview. And before you go any further, please be sure to hit that subscribe button so you know when we release more episodes of the Nurse Coach Duo Real Talk about midlife wellness. Before we dive in, just a quick reminder. This episode is for educational purposes only and isn't medical advice. If you're dealing with a health issue, please check in with your healthcare provider.
Hi, welcome to the Nurse Coach Duo. My name is Angie McGuire, and I am owner of Coach Angie out of Oak Park, Illinois.
And hi, I'm Jen Schroer, owner of Clarity Health and Wellness in St. Louis, Missouri. And we've got Dr. Alison Goggin with us today. Welcome, Alison.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited to have you. And Allison is out here in the St. Louis area with me. So we're all freezing, but as we were just discussing, Angie is freezing more in Chicago than we are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so we're excited to have you today because I think that we talk so much about, different ways of how to manage symptoms within perimenopause and menopause and different ideas of helping women in midlife. And I think everyone right now is inundated with, hormones are the only thing that are going to help you, and you're in perimenopause, and everybody's wanting a diagnosis of perimenopause and all of this, right? So I really wanted to look at kind of that root cause functional medicine perspective of what if it's not perimenopause, right? And what's going on in our body. So if you can kind of talk a little bit about, if to the women that are struggling with, perimenopause symptoms or wondering if it's perimenopause, kind of what are some of the root causes of what's driving these symptoms that might maybe even just beyond hormones.
Absolutely. And they really do align if you are having all the perimenopausal symptoms, but your hormone labs are perfect and all every marker is showing that you're not, and all the testing is saying, yeah, it's probably not hormones. There could be a couple other factors driving that. And I would say the number one thing that I see most commonly is blood sugar imbalances and cellular health, that we create this inflammation in our body and it shuts down every other system. And that's where we really need to lean in into that management as well.
So when people come to you and you realize that and you see that, where do you start? What's your first sort of go to from there? Just to keep talking about sugar imbalance, because I think that's something
Right.
people are hearing about, trying to learn about. And, if you're going to a traditional, conventional medicine, you get random blood glucoses. You go in, it might just have a fasting
Right.
glucose. Maybe you get an A1C if you ask for it. But yeah, so where do you go from there?
Well, first, we absolutely want to see labs, right? Like you said, we need the glucose, we need the A1C, we need insulin levels, we need inflammation markers like ferritin and iron, and really see what's actually going on inside the body. And from there, obviously, number one is diet, looking at those macros. And I know it can be such a pain because we don't all want to track. And I really just encourage people to track for like 2 weeks. Can you get 2 weeks in and actually just see where your calories are? Are you getting protein in? Maybe fiber, definitely looking at carbs and fat, just to get that idea. Because we all know how to eat healthy. And I think we're going to say this a lot today. Like we know what to do, but sometimes we don't know where our blind spots are. Like we think we got our protein in today. It turns out it was like 10 grams. So we need more. We need more of that support. So really just getting that base understanding. And there's so many great blood glucose monitors out there, CGMs, that you can get off the market and just wear for a month or 3 months to understand your own cycles. What's going on during your menstrual cycle, what's going on during the day, what's going on when you sleep, what's going on with your fitness, and really understand where that blood sugar comes in. Because a lot of women go, oh, my shoulders hurt, my back hurts, I'm having these headaches, I'm having all these symptoms. And estrogen can definitely play a role with frozen shoulder, but I see more joint issues coming from glycation, is when sugar gets stuck in the joint because it has nowhere else to go. And then we have the frozen shoulder from sugar and not just hormone issues. So it really does become that really big picture thing that we have to look at.
Yeah, yeah, that's real world example. I had a client come to me, for menopause related symptoms, and as I was talking to her, I'm like, I'm not really sure that this is menopause. I really think like let's get some labs, what have you. And she just couldn't get her doctor on board to do the labs, unfortunately. But I had her eliminate sugar, and her joint pain went away, and she just
Amazing.
couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know the gut is, we've had some episodes about gut health, and the gut is everywhere right now of being kind of a problem child, and the microbiome, and sugar affects it so dramatically, right? Like I always talk about putting out the fire, the inflammation fire, right? So like let's put out the fire, and taking sugar out and processed food is one of them. But I know you're pretty passionate about the gut as well. How much do you see, of women coming in with these symptoms that really need a little bit of a gut cleanup to clear up what's going on?
That's such a great question. And I would say probably closer to 50%. And it's so
Wow.
interesting how our paradigm of helping people changes over the years because like the gut is the root cause of all disease. It's like such a functional, like holistic thing to say. And yeah, definitely was on that track. And then as we learn and we shift, we see what's coming in, these new symptoms, how women are dealing with peri for like 10, 15 years instead of the 5 that it really
Mm.
should be or less, that my paradigm has really shifted almost away from the gut, but back to these inflammation things like blood sugar, like immune activation. But the gut is so key, not only because of digestion and nutrition absorption, but because of how it carries the excess and used hormones out of our body,
Mm.
or it doesn't, and it starts to recirculate within our body, causing havoc.
Yeah. Oh, tell us a little bit more about that havoc. I want to hear a
Oh,
little bit more
I
about
would
that.
be happy to.
Okay. I thought you
So
would, so I
I
just
know
thought
I
I'd
want to
keep it going.
be happy to. So one of my favorite tests to do is a stool test, usually the GI map, because it tells us the levels of good bacteria. We don't say bad bacteria because we all have that bacteria in our system, but opportunistic, overgrowth, things that we don't want, like E. coli, or those really high levels of. It tells us how your digestion's doing, how your immune system's doing, parasites, worm, protozoa, viruses as well. But what we also want to see really is how is the gut handling food and is it sneaking through the system? So we have one of my favorite topics, which is called enterohepatic recirculation. So entero meaning gut and hepatic meaning liver. So if you have leaky gut, if you have inflammation, if you have immune system dysregulation like me with autoimmunity, all of those packets that the liver sent through with hormones and toxins and things that are nice and neatly packaged, if you have an enzyme that's overgrown, like beta glucuronidase, which is something we test for, it'll break those packages open, recirculating everything back into the bloodstream through the gut. Then it goes back to all the cells dinging around, creating inflammation and pain and all of these symptoms that we don't want, back to the liver to be repackaged into the bile, back into the gut. And then we just have this constant recirculation. So our hormones never really feel balanced, even when we're doing all of the nutritional, herbal, medical, pharmaceutical, all the support because this never gets cleared out of our bloodstream truly. So the gut really does create that system in which we either get rid of or we recirculate hormones, and we really need to pay attention to that.
I'm glad you went into a little bit more detail on that because I thought it was something that might have been missed if you weren't like kind of like keenly listening to is where you said like the the hormones either go out or they don't, right? And I think that people, I mean, most people would think that I'm taking these hormones and, my liver's going to process them and they're gone and we're good. And I'm just going to keep taking them every day. And because I'm taking these hormones, magically everything's going to get better, right?
Right.
And we have to have our gut and our liver in the right place to be able to process those hormones that we're giving them, to be able to also get rid of them so they're not just recirculating and then we're adding more on top of it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, what do you see? I guess maybe it's just that women's symptoms don't go away when they start hormones. But kind of what are you seeing in that whole liver gut connection to where women are coming? What kind of symptoms, I guess, are they having where it's not really reprocessing, it's going back in, and we're ending up with maybe too high of levels in our body.
That's a really actually hard question, I feel like, to answer because it's almost all of the symptoms,
Mm.
right? And our bodies are so unique, which is why functional medicine is so unique in itself because every person is different. So someone who's on the same plan, say they're taking hormones, but they're doing their supplements and they have their meal plan and they're doing coaching and they're doing all the things, they may still have bloating. Some people may have constipation. People have diarrhea. Some people may have reflux. Some people may have the joint issues, right? It can be a whole host of symptoms that you're feeling, but we can't just narrow it down to one thing necessarily, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is you could have varying symptoms, but it still be the liver, or it still be the gut, or you're not clearing. And that's why hormones that are placed differently. So some people do well with pellets, some people do well with patches, some people do better with creams. It's because what system's online and what system's working or which system's not working. So the liver's overworking, you might not do as well with creams. You might need something more internal. So those are some differences there. We're all going to experience it differently.
I mean, when you talk about it, it's just it feels overwhelming, right? I mean, I'm just going
Yeah,
to be, and I think the majority of women are overwhelmed. I mean, this is,
absolutely.
we know that. Um, when people, women coming to you that, with these different symptoms, and I know, talking about you like to start in the gut, you like to start with GI mapping. Um, where else do you like to start? Like, as far as what other like foundational, what other
Mm.
advice or um could you give to someone entering your office and coming to you with really not that much information, right? Like it would probably be the difference between me and Jen. Like Jen knows, like I'm just going to say it. She is like so much. She's taught me so much about functional medicine, and becoming a nurse coach, I've learned so much more about functional medicine. But I would say, the majority of people that I know don't go to functional medicine doctors, right?
Right.
But where do people start? Like when they come into your office, besides, I mean, I'm getting to?
I do.
It's just a lot, right? And so
It's
the
so much.
foundation, rather, like, let's talk a little bit about that.
And I have to hesitate because where does someone start where they come into functional medicine and where should they start is where
Yeah.
are they? What are their
Okay.
main symptoms? So
Awesome. Yeah.
especially
Great.
someone in peri, they may be more worried about their brain health and they're noticing their brain fog and their memory is going to crap and they have insomnia and it's like, okay, we have to focus in on that. Is there leaky blood-brain barrier issues? Is there ADD issues that we need to get on track and referred out for first? What's going on in the immune system in the brain? Someone might come in with just your regular hot sweats and just hormone symptoms. Okay, we can do testing for that, or we can just go right to work and get that settled. Some people may just come in with all the gut symptoms. So it's really the foundation is what's most important to you, what symptoms are flaring right now or in general that need to be addressed first. So that way we can literally put the fires out and then go, okay, now what? So
Mhm.
I'll share my foundational protocol with you that mostly at networking meetings, which is really interesting. People come up, okay, Allison, what do I do? I'm like, all right, here's the deal. This is the only thing you need. So number one, I have people start a greens, and the greens will help the liver get the nutrition it needs and the gallbladder to pull and sort and protect us from the excess hormones and toxins that our body's pulling through. The next thing is fiber, because again, it's going to grab onto all of everything and help pull it into our stool and out of our body rather than recirculating. And then I really like to use doTERRA's Clary Calm oil. So just hip to hip every day because it works on the brain, the thyroid, the adrenals, and the ovary. And then we're adding in liver support with Vitazen. And I'll tell you, usually after someone does this protocol for a few weeks, the next networking meeting, they're like so mad at me because like I started bleeding again. I thought I was done. And now I don't have any symptoms, but my cycle's back. I'm like, that's wonderful.
Yes.
That's what we want. We want healthy cycling
Yes.
hormones. We want your body to be ready when you start this journey, not struggling to keep up. We don't want to meet it on the other side. We want to get ahead of it. So if you can start managing and supporting your body now, the next few years aren't going to be this falling apart and trying to manage. You're going to feel so much better.
Yeah.
I
I use the
love
Clary
that.
Calm, by the way.
Oh, good.
Love it. Love, love, love Clary Calm. Smells fantastic. And yeah, I really like, and I have used several of the things that you've talked about, and I think they're all great. I love the kind of the process of what you said. So
Mhm.
in those, are you kind of telling people to do all those every day, and then this will be a kind of a two-parter. So like, how do you, is it gradually doing each one? That's one of the questions. The other
Mm.
one is that I heard you talk about liver and a couple things on there that help the liver, and then I want to just make sure that I'm assuming that the fiber is because that helps the gut.
Right.
And then my third thing is I know a lot of people struggle with these greens powders.
Right.
They either getting them down or they give them diarrhea or
Mm.
fiber, and now they have constipation and those kind of things. So kind of talk through as you go through this process, what the heck do we do if we run into something like that?
Okay. So to answer the questions in
I
order,
know, sorry.
yes, yes, all the things at once.
Okay.
We as humans, especially right now, are all looking for that one thing, that one type of exercise to
Yes.
do that's going to get us to lose weight and feel great and boost our metabolism and help our bones, or that one supplement or that one meal plan that we can stick with forever and it's going to cure everything. And the reality is that that's just not how our bodies work. We need all of the things at one time, especially, and that's why I group those few supplements together. So it's not an overwhelming process. You can get them literally anywhere and get started on that support. I think you said something about the liver, like
Yeah,
it's
so
essentially
you have
asking like why.
yeah, you had the liver that some people can't always tolerate the greens, and then the
Mhm.
fiber and not being able to tolerate the fiber essentially. But like what are
Absolutely.
why and what if they can't tolerate?
The why is two things. Foundationally for liver nutrition, because we have two phases of detoxification that require so much nutrients. It requires good protein sources. It requires a good amount of calories. So fasting and under eating are a major problem. And imbalanced blood sugar as well, zinc and glutathione, and we could just go down pretty much all of the list of that. And the greens will really boost that in a very easy, simple way because our nutrition throughout the day is not perfect. We're missing a lot in our soil. So even if you ate perfectly, you just still don't have the same nutritional gain that we did 100 years ago from our food. So we want to support the nutritional levels of the liver so it can actually do the things it's meant to do rather than trying to take like 15 different herbs, right? Like for the liver, and do detoxes and buy the things that the influencers are selling because it's going to help the liver when really it probably just needs good nutrition.
Yeah.
And then fiber is kind of like a net. And I see it like giving a big hug to everything that's coming through and trapping it. So even if your enzymes are opening up packages of what the liver's sending through is going to help bind. It's a binder.
Yes.
And if you can't tolerate fiber or greens, well, one, greens and the taste, absolutely. I get that. You can buy them encapsulated as well. So that way you're not tasting anything. You can just get it down. And there may be other multi-nutrient things available that are not petrochemical based, but are actually food based. And then with with the fiber, if you can't tolerate it, there could be so many things going on. You could have infections in your gut, like SIBO, that love fiber. So it's going to create a ton of gas, which means bloating, IBS, reflux, and you're going to feel pretty bad. You could have slow motility. So we need to increase that. So really it comes down to why. And if fiber is bothering you, it could be the type. So maybe the store brand stuff that you stir in your glass and try to drink down is not the type that you need. Maybe you need to switch types or brands as well. Maybe you need to focus more on whole foods. We have whole food fiber supplements as well. So experiment. So, if Metamucil is not working, try a different brand, try a different form and see what works for you. And then if it's still making you sick, maybe a different binder like activated charcoal. But if it's making you sick, we got to know why. Because we need fiber.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the hug, the bind.
Yes.
I'm gonna that's my takeaway. One of them. But that's a good, because as Jen said, I mean, that's what fibers, everyone's got to get their enough fiber. And are you along the same lines, like with other people that we've talked to and read, like 25 to 30 grams of fiber per day? Is that where you're at with fiber, or do you have a amount that you prescribe, if you will?
I don't necessarily have an amount. I think
Mhm.
that reading packages, teaching people to read packages and
Yeah.
understand what daily fiber actually is. And because it can be a hard thing to track, like with different programs and you're scanning your food or you're writing it down and you're just trying to get things done. If we can understand how to read a package and have a staple food, and that's why I say tracking for 2 weeks, because then you'll know, oh, if I eat this and this, I'm going to get my macros in, I'm going to get my fiber in, I'm going to make sure I have the right amount of salt, not overdo it or underdo it. And then and then you can be free to just go eat and live to your plan that works for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think starting to learn to read packages, I mean,
Huge.
understanding more is got so empowering.
Yes.
And it's always fun to see people in the grocery aisle, like looking at the nutrient, and I'm like, yes, yes, that's what you should be doing. This is good.
Right.
Looking at all
Absolutely.
those, what do they say? Like something shouldn't have more than a couple ingredients, right? Like
Mhm.
that's the main goal. So, what's your favorite thing to talk about with your patients?
I will give a package, right? So especially when it comes to hormones and perimenopause, is that when our ovaries actually shift down and they're slowing down, they're not working, the adrenals are picking up. They're taking over, making the estrogens, testosterone, progestins, and we really need that adrenal support. I don't know any woman going into perimenopause who hasn't had a life of stress and needs adrenal support. So if we can get the adrenals on board and understand that, but at the same time, it's not just taking a lot of herbs. It's, do you have enough cholesterol in your system? I see so many women coming in and they're like, my cholesterol's at 120. I'm doing so good. I'm like, oh my gosh, no wonder your brain is so slowed down and your
Yeah.
nerves feel like they're on fire. You don't have a nutritional base to even support the hormones your body needs to make, because everything comes from cholesterol. So if we can just even understand these processes of why we
Mhm.
want to see things where they are, not just say, you need to do this and hope someone does it. You need to understand why you can't eat gluten because you're autoimmune. Don't do it, is very different from explaining the physiological processes of, here's how your immune system responds, here's how your adrenals are responding. And then when we do these things that maybe we eat pizza, it's not the end of the world, but you feel
Yeah.
like crap. Now you at least know why, and you're not sitting there
Mhm.
going, what happened to me? And that's so empowering to go, okay, I had a fun weekend. I'm going to pay for it. And Oh, that's right. Allison said this was going to happen, and I'm not scared. And
Yes.
I think take that information takes away the fear of
Mhm.
going, oh my gosh, am I having a heart attack? No, it's a rib. It's okay. Or, everything's falling apart. It's not okay, but oh, I got to get back on track. Oh, I got to get back to my plan. Oh, I got to go see my coaches and get myself straightened out again. I got to get my self-care in. I didn't sleep. I put too much on my plate. I didn't schedule in rest time. These are all the things that we need to be thinking about. And it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot.
Oh my God, there's so many things I want to talk about in just that tiny bit of what you just said. I'm like, oh, I kind of love this because I mean, so that's back to the tracking. That's part of why tracking is so important, right? Because it's
Mhm.
not just, oh, I'm going to track this for 2 weeks and that's all I'm going to go. You learn your patterns, you learn to be able to predict things, you learn to be able to say, I'm going to have this pizza even though I know I'm going to feel like crap tomorrow, or I'm not going to have that pizza because I don't want to feel like crap tomorrow,
Right.
or I'm not
Right.
going to have that drink because I want to sleep tonight. You learn these things by learning your body, right? And I mean, tracking is just it does not, has such a bad connotation, I think, because people think, oh, for the whole rest of my life, I'm going to be tracking. Well,
Right.
maybe kind of, but not actually having to write it down or put it in an app every day. Because now you've learned your patterns and you can say, yep, I expected that. Or wait, that's new. Maybe I need to start tracking again, something like that, you know? And I love that you brought up cholesterol because I do want, it's like you were in my brain, Allison, because I was like, I really want to talk about why cholesterol, why we need it. So and you've touched on it a little bit in that and when we talked about the liver. So if you can just dig into that just a little bit more, because we are definitely in this world of, we go to the doctor, we do our annual labs and our cholesterol's good and yay. Or it's bad and oh, now I gotta fix it. And it's like, but we need cholesterol. And I hear that a lot in the wellness realm right now. But what I'm not hearing is when is it too much? When do I worry?
Mm,
And when is it too low? So if you could
right.
kind of add on to what you had already said, that'd be great.
Okay. I will add on the tracking. When we're cycling, I think a lot of women, and I see this with my patients, and it's like, oh my gosh, I lost my mind. I screamed at my kids that nobody helped me with the dishes, and I cried and I binge eat chocolate. And then I realized it was day 22.
Yep.
And it like comes up so fast, and we don't realize it. And that's why tracking helps us kind of stay on board and go, oh
Yeah.
yeah, okay, I'm about to lose it. So I better go have a break, take care of me, know that this is just a hormone surge and I'm not crazy. I'm just feeling a lot right now.
Yes.
And we take that blame away, and we can work on those things. And then when we talk about cholesterol, those levels are set by health organizations specifically. So some of our labs are set by location. So they'll take an average of who's walking in the door, take an average of it, and kind of name a healthy range, which is why you may see it differently based off of the year or when you're going in, or if you even went to a different location as well to have your labs done. So the medical ranges will max us out at 200. Anything over 200 is a disaster state, it's a state of concern. And in my personal experience, my clinical experience, the research experience is showing that around 175 to probably 225, maybe max, would max out at around 250 for women because cholesterol is the base platform that all of our hormones are made from. So cholesterol gets turned into pregnenolone, which gets turned into 100 different things. So if you don't have that base of cholesterol, hormones are going to take a back seat because cholesterol forms our cells walls. It forms the sheaths around all of our nerves. It supports our brain function. So hormones are going to really take a back seat if you're riding cholesterol at 150. So just like with everything, there's too little and there's too much. We definitely want to be in that middle range.
I mean, cholesterol's gotten such a bad name.
Mhm.
Yes.
So I'm so
Yeah.
happy to talk about it today and go through that. I think it's so important to understand. And also, you mentioned the adrenals. I think that is just so important to understand because this is not what we're hearing in a traditional visit with a conventional medical doctor or in that world. I mean, not hopefully some people are digging a little bit deeper with people, but I think in general, right, we know this. But yes, and Jen, as you said, there's so many things I feel like we could more to talk about, and this has been so interesting. And I think our listeners are have learned so much. I know I have. But if you had to leave, with one, what would be one goal to leave with our audience? I know you covered a lot and you've already sort of said that, but I think, to sum it up, sort of a conclusion to what we've talked about, what would be one goal to leave our audience with? What would it be?
Jen and I think we talk about this every time we meet up, is that we know what to do, right? So if whoever's listening to this, you already know how to take care of yourself, right? So if I said, should you have Oreos for dinner or should you have chicken and salad and rice? You'd be like, well, I want Oreos, but I need to have the chicken, salad, and rice. So we already know innately how to take care of ourselves, even though we have this overwhelming amount of information coming in telling us we're wrong on all sides and not to trust yourself, right? But we can trust ourselves. So I think if I had one goal, it would be to pick either, a set of symptoms that are bothering you. Like, is it your brain? Is it your joints? Is it your gut? Like, and narrow in on that to start with, because all of these symptoms are overwhelming. All of these systems, right? Like, that we can take care of, we could dive into, we could talk for hours about today about how our body functions. But what's going on with you? What's most important to you? And then take care of that. If it's your energy and like, man, working out makes me feel better, how can we start those habits? How can we start small? Can you get up and do 5 minutes of some stretching, some body weight exercises, if that's where you're at right now? If you know that you're ready to dive into food and that's where you want to start there. Start simple, start easy, but start somewhere that's important to you that you can handle, and doing one step at a time as we layer these things in. Because if you try to do food and fitness and take every supplement and
Yes.
oh gosh, 2 days in, we're done. So what's
Yeah.
important to you first, not what everybody's telling you.
Right.
You need to change first.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why resolutions and goals like that fail, right? Because we try to do too much at one time, right? And then all of a sudden we're
Right.
like, I'm not going to, because if you do it out of a realm of punishment, you're not going to enjoy any of it, right? So I always try to tell
Yeah.
my clients, like, if when we're putting goals together, you do your why, right? And the only rule I have is your why cannot be self-deprecating. So you
Mm,
are not allowed to go, well, I'm fat, so I have to lose weight, so I have to diet and I have to exercise. No, no, no. Like, you're never going to get anywhere when you do that. So yes, let's start with your diet if that's what you want to start with. I agree. Like, find you and start with what feels right for you. And the other thing is that, like, I do this kind of pillars of health assessment, and it's like, just because sleep is your lowest, if that makes you feel dread to work on your sleep, pick the one that feels good to work on, right? Because then guess what? When you work on one, the others are going to start to fall in line. Yeah, I think there is such a it's about how you look at how you're going to approach your health. I think that it's such a huge, huge piece of it. Yeah. So thank
yeah,
you
and
for that
asking for
advice.
help. Yeah, ask for help, because,
Yes.
and that's what we're here for, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Because we see those big pictures of our clients, and my plan involves food and lifestyle and fitness and like helping people manage that, where we come in. So you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to
Right.
look at everything and go, oh my gosh, where do I even start? That's where we come in to support
Mhm.
you on your journey. And that's just amazing
Yeah.
that there's so many tools and supports out there, that we're not alone. And that even though it feels so lonely, that there's help here.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. That's great.
Yeah.
So, Allison, just share with the audience where they can find you. We will definitely add links in our description, but just in case somebody's driving and is like, I gotta know more.
You can find me on socials at Little Black Bag Medicine and Alison DiBarto Goggin. That's I'm there everywhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Like Angie said, so much great information, and we could probably do multiple more episodes digging into just one tiny little bit of what you said. So I appreciate that. And thank you for giving our audience, a little takeaway package of how they can start feeling better today. So I appreciate that. Thanks for coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Yeah. And if you like this episode, please make sure you like, subscribe, and add a comment and share it with a friend.